1914 Amalgamation Treaty is synonymous to the birth of Nigeria. Frederick Lugard, a British Army captain and an outlaw who struck gold in Africa, became the instrument used by destiny to make it happen. The amalgamation of Nigeria was designed for economic reasons by the colonial administration to offset Northern Protectorate budget deficit by Southern Protectorate surplus returns. The amalgamation had ad initio created imbalance in the economic political structure of Nigeria and was responsible for the persistent hiccups and the efforts to forge a united country till today. Nigeria's amalgamation was labeled as the mistake of 1914 by native northern conservatives who neither wanted it nor contributed anything significant to its sustenance. Western Spring Television identifies with Amalgamation Treaty of 1914 as a watershed event in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in the multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history. Western Spring Television, as it is.
Good morning to you wherever you are viewing us from. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. We are back once again to do the needful, and we'd like to welcome you properly if you are joining us for the very first time. This is Morning Spring. This is a program where we look at policies, politics, look at and analyze all the major things happening within and outside the shores of Nigeria, Africa, the world at large. And I want to welcome you on behalf of the entire transmission team for this beautiful Tuesday morning shift, because it promises to be very, very exciting. TUNDE IDOWU is my name, and definitely you can follow me up on X. Hey, we are definitely blazing there at Irresistible TD. And definitely you can also follow us on all our social media handles. We are live on Facebook, Instagram, and X at this moment in time at Western Spring Television. Quite a whole lot goes on there, and it's always a very, very interesting time. Our YouTube channel is definitely blazing hot, so you can subscribe and follow as well at Western Spring Television. Today promises to be an exciting time, as always, because there's quite a whole lot of topics we will look into at this moment in time. Yesterday, 45 ministers of the Federal Republic of the Federal of Nigeria. We were sworn in yesterday. Federal ministers were sworn in yesterday, and there was quite a whole lot of, we will say, drama. The minister of the FCT has made it clear a new sheriff is in town, and if you have houses built on where it is not supposed to be, hey, it is going down. That really shook everybody, and that's the latest slang in town at this moment in time. It is going down. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. The Abuja master plan seems to be ready to take a new shape, a new dimension. We'll see what it looks like. And there were reshufflements in the portfolios that were actually assigned some weeks ago, and now we have some ministers moving and others moving as well. We will look into that in the course of this show for today, and I can assure you the headlines from the various dailies that I have with me, they are ready as well. I'll take a short break at this moment in time. When I return, I begin with the headlines making the rounds from the different dailies. Please stay with us. Good morning. Thank you. Let's start this morning edition of Morning Spring with the Punch newspaper. Quite a whole lot of stories making the rounds at this moment in time. And just as I said, quoting the minister of the FCT, former Rivers State Governor, saying what he said yesterday. Hey, we are going down. In the big bold headline there says, Abuja land, FG may revoke land allocations, demolish 6,000 buildings and slums. You have the rider there. It says, illegal building must go down. Wike tells ministers, ambassadors, others. Slums in Yanyam, Akpo, IDOWU, 27 others may be affected. Residents beg minister. Now, when the fear of Wike is the beginning of wisdom, that's what it's is definitely looking like. And just below that, you have the picture of Mr. President, the Vice President, and the newly sworn-in ministers there yesterday. And you have that right there. The headline there, it says, Tinubu warns ministers against ethnic politics. Appointees unveil agenda. We'll get into that in the course of this program for today. And below that, have Ondo teenager confesses taking part in over 40 robberies. A teenager at this time. My 40 robberies. Wow. I want to reunite with Boko Haram husband that's credited to a Chibok girl. Wow. She wants to reunite with Boko Haram husband that's credited to a Chibok girl. Speaking there. Wow. And Navy arrests 10 oil thieves with over 100 jerry cans. With over 100 jerry cans. That's really, really, really sad. These are some of the things we've been saying over the months, years. All these people who find their way to steal crude, and wow, what does this mean? This isn't really good at all. Let's go to the top strip of the same daily, the Punch newspaper. Federal FG may raise $17 billion from asset sales. FG may raise $17 billion from our oil asset sales. That's credited to JP Morgan there. And government to revive Ajaokuta Steel. Umahi plans road inspection. Right? And board chairman, MDs buy additional 145 billion bank shares. These are some of the headlines making the rounds from the pages of the Punch newspaper for this beautiful morning. Let me check that of the Nation. The Nation, you are very, very definitely, you are sure of the fact that all the papers will carry the picture of the swearing in of the ministers yesterday. And that's what we have on the pages, on the front page of the Nation newspaper. All right, let's see what it says. The big bold headline there says how we will implement Tinubu's agenda. That's credited to ministers speaking there. And you have the writer. It says cabinet members lay out priority areas. President demands performance, urges, it urges resuscitation and of faith in government. All right, yeah. All right, we just hope they get the very best and they do the very best. Cabinet members lay out priority areas. President demands performance, urges restoration of faith in government. Yes, it's definitely needed at this point in time. There's this distrust in governance, in government at all levels at this moment. But we just hope that they can obviously get it right so that Nigerians can have faith in them. And having faith in them is the needed thing at this very time. It's a priority. But we'll just try as much as possible. Nigerians are waiting and we want to see what it looks like. All right, we wish them the very best there. Seeing the red strip just above that headline there, it says Vice President Shetima in Johannesburg for BRICS Summit. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one there. Vice President Shetima in Johannesburg, South Africa for BRICS Summit there. Okay, also other stories still making the rounds from the Nation newspaper. Going straight to the bottom strip of that daily, it says 5 electrocuted, 4 hospitalized while erecting billboard. Oh my goodness, that's really sad there. And on the top strip of the same daily, Nigeria's net foreign reserves at $3.7 billion, says JP Morgan. Nigeria's net foreign reserves at $3.7 billion, says JP Morgan. And other story there, just beside that one I just reeled out. What FAGBEMI should do as AGF by legal giant. What FAGBEMI should do as AGF by legal giant. That's an editorial there. His colleagues are actually laying the foundation as to what they expect him to do as the new Attorney General of the Federation. We wish AGF Lateef Fagbemi the very best as well. Do the needful. Nigerians are waiting. Nigerians are watching. The world is watching. So our fingers are crossed and we'll see what it looks like at this moment. Then the last story is still from the pages of the Nation newspaper. FIRS steps up plans to prevent tax evasion by firms. All right. Osun staff audit stalled by Assembly's action. Yeah, we know what's been happening. There's been reaction towards the consultant. There's been this dilly-dally. There's been talks about abuse, there's been talk about confrontation. We just hope they can get this right, and there could be an amicable solution, and the needful should be done. The last paper I have with me is the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper has the big bold headline: Operators unsettled over Tinubu's hold on petroleum ministry. And you have that picture there. It shows the 2022 crude oil exports as it moved from one country to the other. Okay, all right, let's see what it looks like. We just hope, as Mr. President is holding forth to that ministry, things will get better. And hey, Nigerians are waiting. So below that same paper, we have Wike to step on toes as Keyamo, Umahi, others unveil vision for ministries. Wike to step on toes as Keyamo, Umahi, others unveil vision for ministries. Serve Nigeria, not regions or state. Tinubu charges new ministers. Yep. We're all waiting. I've said it earlier. We're all waiting. We're looking at it. We always say it as it is right here at Western Spring Television. And Nigeria's inflation to hit 28% by year end. JP Morgan projects. That's a projection by JP Morgan. INEC and disturbing threats to November polls. An editorial there. Wow, why? It's looking as if it's true. It's a do or die affair, which I believe strongly it shouldn't. The masses know who they want. Why don't we just allow us to have that and do that meaningfully, without letting of bloodletting, without destruction, burnings, and so many things? Why we can just let's just avert all these troubles. Nigeria is a blessed country, is a really good country to be in any day, anytime. But then when everybody tends to hear what is happening at this time, there's that nervousness, that fear in our hearts. And just beside the last story I railed out there, you have the picture of Mr. President shaking hands with the new minister of the FCT, former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, there. All right. These are some of the headlines that we have from the dailies that I've got with me this morning, this Tuesday morning on the program Morning Spring. When I return, we will assess the reshufflement of the cabinet and the ministers who have been reshuffled. What do they bring to the boner? Are they the round pegs in the round hole that we need? Will they be able to perform some magic? And how long can Nigerians give to these people before they get their acts right? It's the Morning Spring right here from Western Spring Television. Please stay tuned. We'll be back after the short break. Stay with us.
Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905. Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 Naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history. The Berlin Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the continent for themselves without recourse to racial and cultural identities and differences. 137 years after the Berlin Conference was held, Africa remains a legitimized playground for European nations that sought to exploit its wealth and resources and manipulate its human capital to promote trades and investments of Western powers. Western Springer Television identifies Berlin Conference as a major event in history.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, Nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and the People, among 6 other books. Bolaige was a colorful politician, elected governor of Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba social, cultural, and political group. He invested his political sagacity to propel the group to the height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria. Bolaige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bolaige as a watershed character in history. The British Empire was the largest and the most powerful in the world. At its zenith, the empire embraced a quarter of the Earth's land surface and imposed her imperial majesty's rule on more than 458 million peoples across nations and continents. The empire took off with overseas possessions and trading posts established by England, spread over 3 million kilometers between 16th and early 18th century. Like previous empires, the British Empire began to crumble on its weight of overstretched territories and growing unrest in our various colonies. Today, the British Empire no longer exists. What is in place is the Commonwealth of Nations, a loose association of sovereign states which recognize the King of England as the titular head. Western Spring Television identifies the British Empire as a watershed empire in history.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Dramatist, playwright, and icon of Yoruba thematic arts, Duro Ladipo was born December 18, 1931 in Osogbo, southwest Nigeria. His clergyman father christened him Timothy. His other names, Duro Dola, Duro Shomo, Duro Rike, reflected his persona and the circumstances that surrounded his birth. The legendary stage actor had in several public fora identified himself as one of the greatest abikus born to die in this world. Family records reveal how he was born and died 13 times. The intertwining names he bore thus lent credence to his spiritism. Duro Ladipo was one of the best known and world-acclaimed Yoruba dramatists to emerge from post-colonial Africa. His notable works Obakoso, Obawaja, and Moremi took him beyond Africa to several parts of the world. By the time Duro Ladipo died on 11 March 1978, the Nigeria's first cultural ambassador had acquired a towering image as an artist whose works adorn the frontage of Trenchard Hall, University of Ibadan. Western Spring Television identifies Duro Ladipo as a major character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Fumilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Kololari, the former, a renowned musical legend.
Thank you, anyway. None of us will go down up in here. But then, if you have a house in Abuja that is not on the usual line, sorry, it's going down. That's the new sheriff in town telling us that. All right, let me welcome you once again to Morning Spring. If you're just tuning in, it is where it has to be. Western Spring Television is the name of the station, and it promises to be exciting as always. 45 ministers were eventually sworn in yesterday, and just before then we heard and we saw that there were reshufflement in the cabinet of the president, making up of 45 names as of yesterday. What does this portend? Do we have the round set of pegs in the round holes at this moment in time? What do you make of these ministers? And for you as a Nigerian, what do we expect from them at this point in time? Joining me on set at this moment in time, I'd like to welcome a policy analyst and a man who is well revered. Mr. LANRE, FADAHUNSI, always a pleasure to have you. Good morning to you, sir.
Thanks for having me today.
Let's look at it. 45 names have been sworn in. 45 ministers have been sworn in. First of all, how happy are you that it seems as if we are trying to beat that schedule? And looking at the names and with the portfolios at this time, what do you make of it?
I'm not a regular politician, I must confess here. So because I look at it as a long drawn drama, and at the end of the day, the dramatic personnel are not strange people. They're just people we have seen all over before, that you can just pick within a week and roll. So I call it long drawn. It's a drama. It's unfolding. It was unfolding, but I think by now we know the main characters that would be part of that drama. However, the way it's going, I'm not too impressed. I'm not too impressed because we're expecting a whole lot. I mean, within less than a week of pushing up the names to the National Assembly, we're already making alterations of, okay, we are changing this portfolio. So it's an afterthought. And that has happened in this administration almost 3 times in 3 months. You make a decision and a call, and almost immediately you are still changing it and saying, for some reasons. All those ones makes it look like you didn't think things through while you were taking those decisions. And ordinarily, we would have thought that for a group, yes, the Ashuaju group, that said they had been prepared, that it's their turn to hold the reins of power, we wouldn't be expecting such flip-flop policy making.
But do you think they are prepared? Just as you rightly said, in 3 months, in 3 months,
almost 3 alterations in your decision making. And as a matter of fact, the major one that has affected the nation adversely, I would say, is that one of the subsidy removal. Someone said he was not part of the speech. The president said he was in his excitement. He said it, and all the rest of it. And it brought a whole lot of, problems on the nation. Now, it looks indolent to me if you're still coming to us as a nation with we are sharing rights and the rest. It doesn't show smartness to me. It doesn't show smartness. If we are still that route of 20, 30 years ago, that you use a bowl of rice to tell people we love you, it doesn't pan out in this new jet age. There are other ways of, for instance, if you look at how they're talking about the palliatives, we've heard it before that people will say, oh, what was supposed to be for us has been kept somewhere. So this drama, we call it unfolding, but I said, let's wait and see how, but I'm not impressed. I won't particularly be impressed because I expect more better.
From your own perspective or opinion, what could have caused the reshufflement, the late reshufflement of ministers before they were eventually sworn in?
As a media person, I will look at the play out. Daily Alake I saw on Arise News saying his own office was actually created for a purpose, and that's why he was placed there, because he's one of the right-hand men of the president and the rest of it, that oil has gone out, is going out in the world, and suddenly all other things, that solid minerals are the major things, and that's why the most trusted friend of Mr. President. So it created a fear in me. That's like there is now another cabal who have just taken over from the other one. But he was speaking so big time that, look, this is the new way to go. We are now looking at other things. But the one we have, we don't have to start infrastructural investment in oil because we have what it takes to bring it out by way of exploration already. Before China and India chose to abandon the use of coal and other resources, they had alternatives ready. We cannot now say we want to start by beginning a new one when the one we have not effectively managed. We don't, of all the nations that have oil in the world, I'm not sure there's any other one that does not have a functioning refinery, at least one. So now, what is supposed to be your wealth, you are now made to trade cheaply because you do not have what is majorly required to turn around what you have. We have modular refineries, they are illegal, make them legal. So that our oil, we don't have to use dollar to factor the cost of it, bring out the oil, take it to the local refineries, let it do local production for Nigerians to use. That's enough. It's enough palliative. So that we will not buy petrol at 500 naira. But you see, it looks like a mind that is bereft of solid ideas. I'm sorry to say this, because you have oil. When you turn oil around, it gives you kerosene, it gives you AGO, that's diesel, it gives you PMS, which is petrol, for your domestic use. Now, the one you want to send to coastal West African countries, that you can now dollarize, and then you can now use that to do international trading by way of export. But the one for local use, the oil was given to us as Nigerians to benefit our lives as Nigerians. Why should it be our problem? Why should it be the one that will now give us a burden, destroying our hope and trust? That's why I'm thinking, well, they have picked them, but that's braggadocious attitude of saying, I'm the closest person to the president. That's why he has put his most trusted person, because that's the new way of the world. That's where the wealth of the world is. Are you after the wealth of what we can? It looks mercantile and business-like to me. Looking at what
the Minister of Finance and the coordinating minister, Wale Edun, stated yesterday on resumption at the Ministry of Finance, that the discomfort as a result of the government's bold step to reform the economy will soon be over. Do you buy that?
I'm not, I don't know how to explain this, that people, wait a minute. The first thing that we should know, and that is going to the Lagos team on the panel, or on the team of Asiwaju now, is that the results of elections in Lagos has not shown that Lagosians are happy with that management of its economy. If they are, the results should have clearly shown that. Do you get the drift? So in a way, one, people believe that running governance by the Lagos cabal is business of making money. generating money, collecting taxes from people. Service taxes, people won't mind. And I kept saying it. When Fashola was governor of Lagos, they meterized water to homes. So there is a meter that tells you the amount of water that you have used, and this is your bill. People were ready to pay. Because in a lot of communities, you had these Malo guys carrying tanks on their shoulders to supply, or wheelbarrow, to supply water to people in their homes. So you give service, you get your tax.
Absolutely.
So now we are more concerned about how do we generate, and they are saying people suffering now is for now. People will find it doubtful, because where are you coming from is the question people will ask themselves. So more like we need vibrant ideas that will show, look, it's going to be give and take. We'll give you service, and then we take something in return for those services. Governance is supposed to be about the social protection of the people. It's about the security of the people. And I have suddenly discovered, over time, 3 months is enough time. There has not been a firm resolution about treating the problem of insecurity, which is a major problem of the nation now.
Absolutely.
Nothing direct to say, look, this is a direct action. There should be an emergency declared on security, because it has affected food production across the nation, over 6-7 states of the north. You pick Kebbi, Sokoto, Katsina, Zamfara, Niger, about Niger State. Over 7 of them that were supposed to be food baskets, but are not doing that because the farms have been taken over by bandits or what have you. Non-state actors carrying ammunition, collecting taxes from people. And these are supposed to be some of the direct things that, look, food cannot be cheap if we don't allow people to go to their farms undisturbed, to come back and do their harvest. Now, people reported that they pay to go to farm, those who are still going to farm. They pay to go and harvest, those who are still able to. And after harvesting your 100%, they still give a percentage to those people before they take the rest. So the overhead of all of this comes onto those who now earn by from those farmers. So the price will go up. So if you don't secure those points, we cannot bring back the price of food to the normal one. And to plant yam, to plant maize, to plant cassava, you don't need dollars. And so when you go to the market, they will tell you price of gari is 800. Now, why now a dollar has gone? What is the link? And I mean, what is the link? That's what is bothering the likes of us. Some things we already have. There's rainfall, ecology is good. So once you plant, you can, but all of a sudden, it's not panning out. It's not panning out.
Mr. Father,
we need a departure. Waledu and the rest of them, they are brilliant people. They take the mindset of business into the background first. Bring services that will make the populace happy, so that when you come back to them and say, pay back, they'll be glad to do that.
If you have to look at it, like, how many months should we give this set of people to be able to get down to say, yes, they've been able to turn around things at this moment in time? Nigeria is in a bad shape, economy-wise. How long can this be possible before we begin to look at what every other minister have said ever since they assumed office since yesterday?
First and foremost, the whole thing borders on the man in the driver's seat. So if we say we give them 6 months, it depends on the will that the leadership carries. And now we need to be sure, do we have a leader leading from the front? We need to be sure. Because from the little I've seen, we hope we will not have another presidency says that you will not see Mr. President saying it. You know, we had that in the Buhari era. So somebody will now say the presidency says, and the next minute, maybe somebody who feels much closer to former President Buhari will now come and say, actually, that was not the president that was saying. I hope we won't have that again. That some people will just, in the mindset, think, well, this is going to be what the president should be thinking by now, and they will be telling us things. Ordinarily, like the few things I've spoken about, it does not have anything to do with international politics or economy. It has to do with what will immediately give succor to Nigerians. And we don't need external assistance on that. It's internal. It's security and a focus for food production. What has brought our economy down completely is that we have failed in the area of energy, electricity, and production of oil and gas, management of oil and gas to help push economy even within. That is what is causing our problem. How many factories are functioning now? What are the production lines bringing out? If you go and see when they carry stories about China and all the rest of them, and they're talking about the economy, you see major factories, those producing vegetable oil, those producing household materials, they will show you those production lines. How many are functioning in Nigeria? These are some of the things they should be talking about. But those things that would even immediately positively affect the lives of the Nigerian people are the things we should focus on now. Food production. Food production. If they can face that in the first, this is rainy season. Some things are still going to work in the next 3 months if you plant and bring them out. So these are some of the things they should, by way of emergency, look at. There was a time in Ghana. They could not do anything about it. It was drought. That is a natural disaster. The only thing they could plant there was cassava. So they had to look at some 5, 6 things to make out of cassava. So you eat one in the morning, you take tapioca, and you take something, and they have garnished gari. They put pepper, oil, sprinkle some plants on it, making it look like a salad stuff. Those are some of that, because that was all they got. But when they got their economy back, the mindset that, look, there was a time we had this issue. It was still part of the things they placed on the delicacies table. Don't forget, we had a time we had this as special. So by way of remember, some will say, oh, give me some, let me just taste how it is. And you see, we don't have that now. So we can use that immediately and make sure Yorubas will say, "Ti ebibati kuro ninu ise." You may not go far from your house by way of entering any public transportation to pay money. If you have enough food at home, then you'll be even playing with your family better. Because you don't need to go out to say you are socializing because you have excess change on you. But let's remove hunger from this problem of poverty we have in Nigeria.
Let's move a little bit further. Let's look at the Abuja master plan and look at the new sheriff in town at the FCT. What he said yesterday, that is becoming new slang here, and he has said he has promised to restore the Abuja master plan and step on toes in the process if necessary. That's credited to the FCT minister and the former governor of Rivers State. Does this look like this is the avenue he's been looking for to really pay some people back once he finds that opportunity to do it?
You see, when a lot of people spoke, leadership is not all about age. But it requires a lot of temperament.
Quiet.
Any leader that does not, you see, that's why Americans are always very careful in picking their leaders. That look, an American president can press the nuke and tell the nuclear whatever to go fly if he does not have the right temperament. So they must look at all of that, and to a lot of people, that is one thing that the former Rivers State governor is lacking. For God's sakes, does that call for that kind of statement that yesterday? Would it have been in the normal climb of things that somebody should come forth with that, so that all your friends and foes will be thinking, did I offend him? Let me now see, let him not come and say I'm on the waterway or whatever. These were some of the things that another one did in the past. That was El-Rufai was there before at the FCT. And to a lot of people, he used vendetta to do what Wike is now threatening. To a lot of people, that was the point of where El-Rufai made most of the enemies he had in politics. And at some point, even the president that appointed him had to say, look, be careful of this man. You get. So, but to me, when they said, okay, of course, it was in public space. Of course, the media speculations that both Wike and El-Rufai were not to make the list by reason of some DSS report or what have you. That there were altercations and a shouting match at the presidency, his own version of a Miloko to President Tinubu. And you see, to me, it looks like when you allow someone snitch on you who has a bit of an information, you tread with caution. So he's treading with caution that brought that man, because he does not carry the temperament of leadership. I watched where he was talking to some traditional rulers while he was governor. You are not God, you are governor.
All right.
So wrong people. So to me, that statement is going to send jitters down the minds of people.
Exactly.
But there must be a way Mr. President should be able to caution him, because that's a starting point. No, that's a starting point, and it's not a good one.
Let's listen to what the FCT minister said yesterday while addressing the press at his new ministry, the Federal Capital Territory. We'll be taking that. We'll take that off the coordinating minister. We'll look at the blue economy minister. Some at least the ones we have at our grabs at this moment in time. Please stay with us. Let's listen to the FCT minister while he delivered his address to the press yesterday.
Starting the master plan of Abuja, too bad. So look at refuse everywhere. Those who are paying for refuse collection, what are they doing? So we must also sit down to look at differently ways of waste management or waste disposal. It is very, 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 very key. All those people who are distorting the master plan of Abuja, too bad, too bad. If you know you are built where you're not supposed to build, it will go down. It will go down. Be a minister of anywhere, be an ambassador. If you know you have developed where you're not supposed to develop, your house must go what? Down. Those who have taken over the green areas to build, sorry, our parks must come back. The green areas must come back. If you hate green, you must hate yourself. So if you know you have anybody who is involved that have taken over the green areas, have taken over the parks, to where you now do restaurants, no, we will not accept that. Sorry. If your father has done that, sorry. If your mother has done that, sorry.
Wow, that's the sheriff is really trying to stamp his authority on ground in Abuja. Naturally, it is the capital, and probably is looking at beautification. There are people who actually got their CFO, they got their permit, probably from the wrong side. And that's what he's looking at. Looking at what the papers have said this morning, saying about 6,000 buildings will go down. What does this portend?
Now, the first question I would be prompted to ask is, did they still approve us? And development is about people.
Yes.
And so Abuja did not start with the population it has today. So at some point, by collective decision, some things will still have to change. If it's not going to affect the waterways and the stuffs you have created, some green areas will still have to carry buildings. The World Trade Center, at some point, the issue of America was probably a set out place, but they will say this little place can be central for this development at that point. So if people got documentation from that same ministry, they got all the processing done thoroughly. And you're coming down to now say, because original plan said green area. Green area now, in 20 years, if it is still green area, maybe you are not developing. Maybe you are not growing. Dubai was a desert.
Absolutely.
It was a desert, complete.
Yeah.
So things started happening. That's why Taj Mahal is standing there today. That space probably was a green area. It's in the center. If you build the world's biggest, tallest hotel and all the rest, let's do that. So some of these things are some developmental things that have to take place. But if somebody is now coming to say, and let's not forget that a lot of people said those in the past who followed that route eventually transferred some of these things to their relations. It's there in public domain. So if you need choice lands in the central part of Abuja, people will be wondering, maybe he wants to do the same. So he should look at the history of those who have held office. That's why I said, look, you don't just hastily take action and now double talk after. One, have you studied the files enough? You just came into office. Even if somebody somewhere who is close to you at that place is giving you info, you wait. A leader tarries a little. You take the files, I've been in civil service, so I know what I'm saying. You read back files, you see the history, you ascertain the realities and the flukes. And when you have all of that, then you can come around and make a policy decision. Now, you have not seen the files. You have not known the complicity of the ministry in all of these things. You are just heaping it on those people who probably have documentations that would take litigations even against the ministry you are heading. Those things, you should have been patient to thoroughly study them. That's why I said, some people said, look, somebody there, a sheriff there before, took our land and later transferred it to his relations. Publicly said. Then, so to some people, probably you too want some choice places. To some people, even while you were governor of a state, you probably had issues with some people at that ministry. And now it is time to hit back. Leadership, comportment, decorum are marks of a good leader. Whoever is temperamental should run away from leadership.
We'll keep our fingers crossed and see what transpires in our dear nation's capital, Abuja, and see the good works we expect of the FCT minister amongst every other minister. One of the major challenges that we have here in Nigeria today is electricity. It's one of the biggest challenges that has befallen us. Looking at what our grid comes up with, collapses today, gets up tomorrow. But looking at the new Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, he has said he would confront the national grid challenge and meet the universal metering of household. Now, he further went on to say that electricity supply will be stable and accessible. What's your take, sir?
That's the way. Is it possible? No, it's quite possible. All right. That's the way to go. What are the expectations of the people from you? We will ordinarily, okay, let me not just go through that minister again. Yes, we will give you electricity. That's what we expect from you. We will do metering universally for people. That's what they're expecting from you. And that's what he's saying. And the people will now come around and say, okay, all those overbilling of the past that they are now putting on the meter, that's where the communication comes. He's opening up that challenge of, okay, we are going to face this head on and make sure the grid issue is approached so that we can provide electricity enough for the people's use. And that will help industries. That will help the economy largely. It's one of the things that has dealt with our economy adversely. That most international companies in production have left us for other nations around us producing, and they are now bringing those things to us. As a nation, we have population. That is what every marketer wants. Population that will buy your products. But if you don't make it easy to do business here, then they'll do business elsewhere, and you see exports coming to sell to you. That is an approach to solve Nigeria's problems that this man has said, yes, I'm going to face. So I think I tarry with him. I pray he does that with capacity and objective mind.
We hope so, because it's one of the biggest things. As a young man, I remember the likes of Kingsway, the likes of Leventis, Michelin, Dunlop.
I don't know if you stayed in Ibadan.
Yeah, I lived in Ibadan. Leland was producing Exide batteries.
Those big buses. Exide batteries was there. And so that's Ibadan. Lagos Philips, Volkswagen, and all the rest.
Yeah.
So why did they all leave us? Dunlop, Odutola Tires, Nigerian own. Oki Biscuit, all those things. You see, Oki, when you hear Oki, you know it's us.
Yeah.
It belongs to us. Not all these new names that those
what we're seeing these days
guys are doing. Why?
No, we just
a guy said, wait a minute, you don't know anything. All these ones they are saying, if biscuit was 6 in a pack before, you say subsidy remover, bam, they remove 2. You have 4 in a pack. They won't change their price. But they have dropped water. So why must the value of our lives drop? If you wanted, as a student of secondary school in our days, you wanted Uncle Ben's rice. You go to Kingtree and you buy. Absolutely. You don't have to be a rich man's child.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But suddenly we lost it all because of what? Auntie Carolina or whatever. We don't like it. We prefer Uncle Ben's. And it's still imported rice. But God just, we need leaders who would banish the thought of amassing wealth. Amassing wealth is the major reason we have problems. It is why dollar will keep going up. That people who steal our money by way of corruption in Naira don't care to use it to buy dollar at any rate. So it's stolen Naira. You steal in billions of Naira. You don't mind to buy dollar at any rate to keep that one because it's a more secure currency that people don't just play with. So we need that. We need that commitment.
Just hope the Minister of Power, wish you the very best, amongst others, because once there's constant electricity,
factories will come back.
Investors will
come back because this is where you sell the goods. And the government can lay a policy to stop importation of goods and tell those to come and establish their factories.
Right here.
Some of them should come back and take over their old factories. Manufacturer here will buy from you.
Definitely.
There was a policy by the military then, you remember, that all government official vehicles must be from PAN.
Yeah.
You must use Pojo products. Not like now that people want to buy limousine and Rolls Royce for their official vehicles and bulletproof, whatever.
Let's move on here. Let's check out what the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, the former governor of Osun State, Adegboyega Oyetola, said the blue economy is estimated globally to be worth more than $1.5 trillion annually. Where has subsequent government, subsequent administration, where have they been that they have not realized that such a thing exists? Or they do know, and they just prefer to, hey, let's amass this just to ourselves. Because if anybody has...
Are we getting a clip of that?
Okay, I wish
if we have it, that would be ideal.
Yeah, okay.
Because you see, all of us have heard blue chip. It's technology driven and the rest of it. We have all heard all of this. And suddenly when they talk about issues we are having in Nigeria and problems we are facing, I begin to laugh. Now, the marine world, blue chip, you see, the blue economy thing, basically is talking about things that go on the ocean, the waterways and the rest of it. But this was our country, that some people will bring their jetty all the way from wherever, come to our shores, steal our oil, take it back, refine and start selling to us on that waterway, on that ocean. And we care less. And with technology, we can monitor who comes in, who goes out, and we look away because some people are the ones eating at that table. You can't solve problems that way. Now, two strands. If indeed it is to benefit Nigeria, that's the very way to go. That's the very way to go. And if it is to do the business as usual thing, billionaires will be made, individual billionaires will be made in marine insurance, marine data, and the rest of it. And the ships will have to pay, those who carry things will have to pay, even if it is stolen or whatever. So it's the angle to it that matters. Would it be to the benefit of our nation? Or is it an angle for those rich people who have the means to be part of that transactional thing to make more money? we need a redefinition. That's why with time, I know the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy will come with a template of what they plan to do, how Nigeria stands to gain. Because it's not something that you just tell the president alone. The citizens also need to know. Because if it affects what is coming in by way of overtaxation of those bringing goods to us, then it means we still have to pay more for things we cannot produce. I want to listen to what the industry minister will say. I want to listen to what the other ministers have to say about their different ministries. Key of all, agri, and then the defense.
Okay, because I will look at that just while awaiting what I know in the course of this today, we'll have most of them come out to talk. But look, it's still staying with the blue economy, because it seems as if government administrations over the years, all their concentration is oil, NNPCL. We saw a former administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. He was the Minister of Petroleum at that time. Mr. President, the incumbent president too, at this moment in time, has taken up that portfolio upon himself again. Why are they not totally looking at the fact that what the marine, the blue economy has in stock is probably larger? Netherlands don't have that kind of oil that we've got, but theirs is more of agriculture, and they are doing fantastically well. Why is Nigeria always so dependent? Our concentration is more on oil. Looking at what we can harness from the blue economy, is it that the government have decided to just, look, oil is the in thing, or what do you make of this?
Now, if you have something that belongs to you, that you have in abundance, it should be to your benefit. We can't look away from oil right now.
Yes.
Somebody saying, okay, like the solid minerals minister was talking about, they're looking at electric cars. When we don't even have electricity. So is it not the same thing? But now, what you have, used to advantage. We can't look away from oil and being sincere about that, because our infrastructure is required for so many other things. But for the blue economy, we may not really need much of infrastructure, but we need it. But deliberately, some people don't do it. It's part of blue economy to ensure that we know the amount of oil that comes out of our soil on a daily.
Absolutely.
Nations of the world monitor it, so you can't steal it. As it's coming out, it's metered, it's recorded, it's seen on a live screen by the whole of a community of people who are monitoring and watching. Yeah. So nothing can be stolen. All of a sudden we hear that, okay, they caught a badge that stole our oil and we bomb it. That is not helping. The blue economy is not as if people are not looking at it, but there is a deep-seated group that are saying, look, this is for us. It is our own. My brother, oil, that's why to a large extent, some people who have oil in their domain, who face ecological issues because of the oil all of us are referring to, are saying, why must gold of Zamfara belong to Zamfara? And the oil of our own belong to the oil of Nigeria. You get the drift? There are some resources that, even now in Borno State, Al-Mustafa is not supposedly saying what he doesn't know. That if you see crisis in Borno, it's not just, it's mineral resources. That some people are mining on a daily, that is not part of what the federal government has captured. It's not that the nation does not have wealth, but you see all these people flying about everywhere. There is another source, and they are not ready to let go of it for the benefit of the nation. So even if the blue economy is going to help us, it must be for the benefit of the nation and not some individuals. If we still go the route of individuals making all the money there, those people will get rich on account of it, but Nigeria will still not be better. So that's why we need a template of these 3 months, we do this, we do that, and these are the expectations. You see, you make projections of what we want to make by way of revenue from what our actions will be. But it's not going to be wise to say what is supposed to come from outside by way of revenue, we now want to heap it on our citizens. So that's not ideal. So we want to know where the sources of the wealth that the blue economy will produce will come from. You must have a template. You see, leadership requires a blueprint, solid blueprint. that people can open pages and refer to what statement you made on page 72 of your blueprint. But if you keep it under your table because you don't want people to know some details, then you're not being sincere. We need a blueprint from each of the ministries on the activities. That is what a decisive administration should call for. All ministers carry out a blueprint, bring and make it public. If it doesn't go public, then something is hidden somewhere.
The man at the helm of affairs at the marine and blue economy, what do you make of him? He's been a former governor. Will he be able to justify he's been minister of marine and blue economy?
And I don't know about his depth politics. I don't know about how he plays politics, partisan politics and then whatever. But when it comes to administration, I think it's coming from a class that does that. It's not a matter of many words anyway. And so, I won't say it's gentle, because somebody he doesn't talk much does not mean that person is gentle. Yeah. But this is Rave FM. And
this is WSTV. That's Rave FM.
Yeah, this is WSTV. There's Rave FM there. This is the outfits together. Now,
yes,
the road in front of you there that goes to Ilobu was for I live around there. I do business around there. And within 3 months, start to finish. So if somebody can deliver that, well, it affected me positively, so I can talk about it. You see, you talk in practical terms of what you have said. Yes, it was towards election, fine. If towards election everybody is doing something like that for people that has been of great demand, fine.
Absolutely.
So to me, I think is a talk and do person. I've not met him personally, so I'm not speaking because I want to be his friend. No. His politics, I'm putting that aside. I'm not involved with it. I'm not a member of the party, so I don't know how to do it. But the point is, where he is, and the patina of age works for him. He's advanced in age a little. I will go for an Oyetola any day than for people who talk and they have to recant. You know, because if you talk a lot, Yorubas will say, "Makoro eje." So it's better not to talk yet, think through before you act. But I will expect a blueprint because that's a new one is handling. We expect a blueprint that people can take you up on. Produce it. Let's say it. Volumes of it that you have in mind. That is, you see, before you want to cut a big tree, you sharpen your blades, you get all the things together, you make sure the place the tree will fall will not affect other things. So that's what you think things through first. And then when you act, you know you have already, if there's anything, you stand back and still look at it. Are we okay? So to me, given that benefit of that Governor Oyetola would be able to deliver, depending on the mindset is also carrying to the end. Is it to do business or to ensure that the activities of his ministry will take Nigeria out of the blue? It's the blue marine, but take Nigeria out of the blue.
Let's look at Aviation and Aerospace Development Minister Festus Keyamo SAN. He has said that he will build on the existing aviation roadmap. Has there been a roadmap in the aviation sector?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, he's now saying he's going to build on the existing aviation roadmap.
Roadmap to malady. No. You see, because this was the place where we launched
in Nigerian Air.
That did not fly. We launched a logo in London. I mean, these are some of. Is that the roadmap you want to follow? So that's a ministry somebody should go with angst to. And resume and say, look, all of you who have embarrassed Nigeria, it's an embarrassment.
Yeah.
We want to take a plane from Ethiopia. They didn't even remember to wipe off the Ethiopian Airlines stuff. No, that's not a roadmap.
So Professor Skiamo has work to do.
A whole lot of work to do. However, that's another one. Is another one, attention-seeking, and I don't know, the choice of people, but he worked for the campaign, and so it's payback time, and he got it. In that place, that's a ministry that Nigeria requires a lot of services from. That Nigeria requires to get our pride back as a nation. And so for anyone to come and be telling us it was that old roadmap, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And anyway, I just know that it should not go with a combative mindset to that ministry, because it appears as a person, he enjoys drama. There's a lot of controversies around, and that is not a place where we expect that to happen now. We should have an airline that is Nigeria, that people will be proud to fly. Now, you see Nigerian pilots, even a female pilot, Nigerian citizen abroad, was said to be flying one of these big, recently, that was celebrated over the world, that, okay, a lady did this. So why are we not doing it at home? We have a lot of them all over, scattered all over the world. But at home, even if they fly here, they flew maybe Delta or other foreign airlines to come to Nigeria. It's not quite encouraged. We need that place too. We need that place too, and it should be. I mean, if we have Nigeria Air, they won't be talking about airlines wanting to take their money for international flights in dollars. If we have our own. So these are some of the things that people should look at. That, look, we should think Nigeria first in everything. And the moment we are doing that, the question is, how does it benefit our nation? The first question. Oh, these are my plans in this place. How will it benefit Nigeria and take us out of the doldrums that we have found ourselves?
Professor Skiamo, SAN, we wish you the very best, and please get us back in the air. And that's just what Nigerians are waiting for. In the early 80s and 90s, we saw Nigeria Airways. It was a pride to this nation until when everything grounded. But then you can still do it. Get us back into the air as well. Let's look at what the Minister of Interior Minister, that's Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, he has actually warned paramilitary agencies against infractions. One of the biggest things that is causing dissatisfaction, disharmony within the paramilitary agencies in Nigeria. Everybody wants to show off, and it's really causing quite a whole lot. But he has added that internal security will be business unusual under his watch. What do you make of that? Making a statement right from day one.
Yeah, that's an area. I said it, that the insecurity situation is supposed to be on the front burner of this administration, that we are going to make it unpalatable for people who are disturbing our internal security everywhere, on land, on sea. We're going to flush people out from all of those places. These are the statements that declare an emergency on insecurity as a national project, not just as a ministry project. That the armed forces, the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Interior, and all of those arms of government that have military might, that have arsenals of warfare, to push those people off our land, to go ahead and face it head on. Not just on paper or policy, or say we want to buy ammunition. What you already have, face these people out. They're supposed to be ragtag creating those problems, and they're controlling those places. They're controlling largely. When they say, okay, 20-something local governments are in their control, is that supposed you are supposed to face, it's a war situation. And it's Interior and the police and the rest of them. They're supposed to just say, look, go ahead, but there must be a word from the Commander-in-Chief on all of this. We give you all you need, go and get this done. But I've not seen that as we want to continue. It's like we just want business as usual. Let's just continue and that normalcy is not normal.
All right, quickly, let's look at during the last administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Adetu, something like that, that name rings a bell. We saw that, we heard quite a whole lot. There had been distribution of this to the, and people kept asking, where are the people? You keep saying so much amount of monies was spent on this, quoting the former CBN governor, saying every month about 500 billion was allocated to that ministry. But if 500 billion, that's quite a whole lot. Nigerians should have felt the impact of such monies from the last administration. But the woman at this moment in time, that's Betty Edu, the Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation Minister, Betra Edu, she explained that she will vigorously pursue the government's goal of lifting 133 million Nigerians out of poverty. Is this hope, renewed hope, or what do you make of this? 133 million are multidimensionally in poverty,
yes.
And they're saying we're going to lift them out of that poverty. Renewed hope?
It's renewed hope is possible. It's doable. It's the mind of the person doing it and what that person is bringing to the table. Now, the former woman that was there, the first encounter I had of knowing her, apart from the fact that they said she was part of the CPC, was when a video clip made the waves. I mean, Nigeria, Game of Thrones of Nigeria is beyond that one. You have watched seasons of it. She was pictured probably getting ready for a wedding, engagement stuff. That was the first time I came across that person as a woman in close to the corridors of power. That people insinuated she was being prepared as a bride for Mr. President when the wife of our president was sojourning in Dubai and London, shortly in Dubai and London. And I think within 48 hours of that exposure, the president's wife quickly ran back home. So to me, it was just a compensatory position by creating that. That ministry was recently created. Yeah. And suddenly, a lot of funds were pumped that way. To cover up again, she was made to marry an Air Force chief or whatever. So definitely she was actually ready for marriage, truly. Now, 500 billion and all the rest. Personally, around where I live, personally, around where my office is, I asked them, were you able to get something from that ministry? Everyone said no. Now, let's now take another angle to it. I'm not even going abroad now, Nigeria. If you ask for IBEDC bills, it gets to people's homes. Whether the amount there is right or
estimated or
when they are doing immunization, some people go around house to house to immunize children. They have data, they have records. Every community has landlords association. They know households, they know how to get to. So if indeed you mean well for the populace, you know how to get to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But they don't use that when they say they want to. So if this person really, I've seen that video clip before. During COVID, wherein a Nigerian family in the UK got a huge box delivered in their front home.
Exactly.
For their 16-year-old daughter, not even for the family. Yeah. Her name was on it. Because the school captured her name as one of its students and her address is there. And that was sent to her toiletries, sanitary pads, provisions and all the rest of it. For you, for this period. Automatically from the husband or for the father's workplace, that probably was coming. From the wife's. So there are things we could use to capture people. We have people's fingerprints. They are those who have those bank accounts. In Libya, they say, whatever your share of the oil wealth is, gets into your account directly as citizens. So if that is what will make citizens go and open accounts, they will do. Yeah. When you do that, there is biometrics. So one person cannot be two. NIN married all our accounts. And so we can use technology to do all of that because we want to take tax from the people. But when we want to give services back to the people, we don't remember all those channels. It is possible to do that. And you can imagine what 20,000 naira can do in the life of somebody that will just say, okay, I'll just be cooking Indomie and eggs for people in the front of my house. And laborers coming to work in that community will first of all have their breakfast before going to work. In the evening, probably the same woman from that 20,000 would have made more money and echo, they will come, eat, and go home. It can turn people's lives around.
Absolutely.
It can keep people thinking of how best to get out of poverty, if indeed we are sincere about it. But if the person gets there, and in some instances you will see the minister saying, no, that vehicle, I can't use that vehicle as my official vehicle, but I go and get me a bulletproof. And if that is what will now be the attraction, immediately people get to that office, we have not arrived yet. It is possible. Everything that can work for Nigerians is possible. It depends on the mindset of the leadership.
Before we call it a wrap, let's look at the task ahead of the Attorney General of the Federation. What do you make of him? Lateef Fagbemi, SAN.
Lateef Fagbemi, SAN. Of course, is a member of the Lagos group.
Yeah,
that I can't stay far from that. And for some of us who have been doing this little bit of media thing for a while, we know the relationship of the current Minister of Justice to Mr. President, and even about businesses of the President or his business interests and concerns then. I mean, as an individual, he was governor 20-something years back. He left office as governor, and so he's been doing one thing or the other. So some people are handling that on his behalf and doing it. So, but by and large, he has all the requirements of somebody to hold that office. He has shown capacity in the legal profession, and I expect he will be able to deliver on all of those things required of a minister holding forth in that place. We saw a lot of things that happened during the period of Malami, and we are hoping that there will be a departure from some of those negatives that we saw then. Because when, as a government, you don't obey court orders, when as a government you flout so many things on account of what angle it is to you, then it's not too good. A lot of things happened that Nigeria had to pay heavily, taxes and the rest for people that allegedly handled one thing or the other. That I mean, from abroad, some are saying, no, you are not supposed to pay again. We've done all of that, and Malami insisted, no, we must pay them. I mean, all this was issues in public space, and we expect a departure from that as well. SAN Lateef Fagbemi is square and round, whichever one the whole court is, as far as that ministry is concerned.
Quickly, let me look at what the Minister of Works is saying here. That's former governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, said he will not jettison his national outlook. He promised to be a hands-on minister who will not allow bureaucracy to be a spoke in his wheels. And he said he's going to be ready. He's going to be inspecting roads. He's going to be doing this and that. We need roads. We need good roads to ply in the nation today. He's got a whole lot in his hand. We saw the last Minister of Works, Babatunde Rajifashola. Yeah, give it to him. He was able to at least do his best. As people have said, where should Minister of Works continue from Dave Umahi? What should be his focus at this moment in time? He has stated that he will not jettison his national outlook.
See, there's one thing I've been looking at in terms of Ebonyi governor, former Ebonyi governor. He was a former governor.
Yes.
How well did he perform as a governor as far as infrastructure is concerned, what's the quality of jobs done at that level? Before Fashola became the Minister of Works, he was Governor of Lagos State.
Yes.
And so there are templates of what you can see by way of performance at that level. So if we are now placing side by side, a former governor was in that office, a former governor is in that office. Ordinarily, if it has to do with delivery of infrastructure, maybe a wiki in that kind of a place. I'm being objective.
Yes.
Because it was embarrassing the number of projects he was able to. Well, forget cost. I'm not discussing cost.
At least the projects.
That we saw that he kept joining. So how much of that happened in Eboy? So national outlook is talk is cheap. National outlook, yeah, we all know is Nigeria. You are not serving Eboy alone now. So that one is a given that we expect from you. However, if he had not done too well in terms of infrastructure, because works has to do with infrastructure. So if he has not done well in terms of infrastructure as far as his state then was concerned, they should probably follow a better template now at the Works Ministry, because that is highly required. Unfortunately, I don't know why that issue happens to be like that. It's almost completed, the Lagos Ibadan, but for 8 years too, it's not done. And
still not done.
That beats me hollow, that Fashola also did not finish that one. It's not a small portion. I was in Lagos over the weekend. It was a small portion, but one would have expected in 8 years that at least should have been complete. If we were able to do roads, do rail lines to Maradi in Niger, and we still have that. And a lot of roads were fixed up north, a whole lot of them. On record, and just Lagos Ibadan is under 100 and something kilometers. And we couldn't finish up. And reputable farms. We have RCC on the road. We had, I think, Julius Badger there. And it's unfortunate. But here we are.
Well, looking at what's these are just some of the ministers who have actually come out and briefed the media concerning what are their plans for their various ministries and Nigeria as a whole. The owner of these ministers, as someone just told me last night, he owns them now. The pilot himself, the driver of the economy of the country, of the nation himself. Mr. President said, and I quote him, saying, Nigerians expect you to hit the ground running, just as we had promised them during our campaigns. Nigerians expect a lot, and they deservedly want to see changes in their lives. Inspirational, motivational. How well will this set of people, how well do you think they should take a cue from what Mr. President has stated and given to them?
I see that as the rhetoric of an address. It's supposed to be part of a speech of Mr. President, but the commitment and the will to do will come from the President himself. We need hands-on leadership. It is not going to be an absent presidency. If Nigeria indeed must work, what people will first study is, okay, now we have these guys there. Let's see, are they there to work? Or are they there to sit at table and be served? And the moment they do that, the rooks take over. Now, leadership up front is essential here. That was why I said it at the beginning, that the presidency said, the moment people start seeing more of that again, they will say, okay, let's go, let's do our thing. So for them not to do their thing, the president has to be on their neck. That's why I said, look, you said, I recall there was a time here that some of the people who worked with the former governor, not Oyetola now, Aregbesola, said 2 a.m. project that you said you have almost finished. The next day, Aregbesola will tell them to go and call you. I was on that road 2 a.m. yesterday. What lies were you telling me in the evening? You have not done 50%. You have said you have gone 85. You understand? No, that kind of leadership that will be able to
keep them on their toes,
keep you on your toes, is what can work now. Not just the leadership of, okay, we have another national executive meeting on Wednesday, so let's get ourselves ready and use our wardrobe allowance to get good clothes to go to that meeting. No. It has to be you'll be sweating that, okay, we had to leave site to come and attend meeting and we are going back. That's the kind of thing that the presidency should ask of all our ministers. This is not business as usual. All eyes are on this government to turn the nation around and for good. A lot of things, a lot of mess that we have found ourselves in as a nation is because of not exactly bad governance, but lacking in capacity. You can't give what you don't have.
Absolutely.
So if you don't have the mindset to do things right, you can't do the right thing. You don't know how to arrange to do the right thing. But as far as this set of people in this cabinet are concerned, they know how to do the right thing. They have the basic credentials required to do the right things. But if they allow the tyranny of the flesh, taking that cue from Chief FEMI Awolowo, to override their decisions, then it's not yet Uhuru for us as a nation.
It's not yet Uhuru, but quickly, let's just look at, as much as we still know that the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal thing is still there, but let's just assume and say, in the first 4 years, in these 4 years of this administration, and going by what we are hearing, the way the set of people he has as his ministers here and there, do you feel personally that there can be a turnaround in this great nation for better?
There must be a policy decision now that Mr. President has a team, and must be in his first meeting officially with them, setting time frame that by December, this ministry, you must come with a report, and if you have not achieved this level, I'll remove you. No, if there is no marching order for those ministries, they'll still go to sleep. And one thing is, as the president, I'm assuring you that whatever is required to deliver what I've requested of you, you will get it. Which means I'm making a promise and you must deliver to me on that promise. If I don't now deliver what is required to you, then it means I am part of the problem that has not made it possible for you to deliver. But in the past, people will still collect what is required to deliver, and there will not be any reprimand for not delivering on those things. So that's where the problem lies, because there must be a marching order that will set things right. Nigeria is too rich a nation to be poor, but we are among the poorest nations in the world. It's unfortunate. And so it is possible to turn this nation, very, 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 very possible. But greed of some affects the needs of others. We banish greed.
Exactly. Once that can be banished,
if you banish greed, we'll get there, and then that's where the pride of political leadership is. You are walking and people are milling around you, happy, hugging you, kissing you, doing all the rest that you have turned our lives around for good. I don't know. If you see the kind of pride Rwandans have in their government, the pride they now have in their nation, that does it mean our nation could be this service-oriented and delivering to us? It's possible, but it's always one man. It is always one man. At some point, some of these one men almost become like tyrannies, because they will say, no, don't go. We don't believe in 4 years democracy. This person has done well for us. So, but yes, we allow democracy to take its turn and all. We have seen leaders before. It is for our leaders to determine, am I going to be a leader or a dealer? That choice takes the nation steps ahead or back.
Quickly, let me just take your view concerning this. How should Mr. President work out that thing where he will monitor his ministers. He can't be there. The huge work he undergoes on daily basis. He asks for it naturally, and Nigerians have given it to him, at least thus far. But then to really keep his ministers on their toes, how possible can he monitor? How can he be there? See what work is doing, see what housing is doing, what power, what aviation, what finance, all this. How can he, though he has a coordinating minister of the economy as well, how can he really monitor and keep these people on their toes?
I'll tell you, that's why I kept repeating it. You see, technology has done everything for the world. The president can have a large screen that he will see the activities of everybody just sitting down on a daily, just 1-2 hours in a day, and you know this person is not doing what I have asked him to do. And you call him to order. Come here, what are you doing? I'm looking at what your guys are doing on the field. It's not what we have expected. So by and large, there will be a situation room that monitors for you. And they will say, that's why I said a time frame. In 4 months, deliver this. And let me have your weekly report every week on my table. One day, it might not be week 1, week 2. It might just be week 3. We'll just say, let me see the report for week 3 and see how far. If it's not now looking like it, you can now make reference. And you pick on that ministry, in particular that period, to whip that person back in line. Once that person is back on traction, you move on and move on to another. So that's why I said you roll your sleeves up to do this job. That's what makes it. And the moment people have now taken that culture of saying, look, we are being watched, we are being monitored, they keep working.
You see it in Nigeria?
I've always seen that. I've always seen that. I've been a pusher of it. I've been a proponent of it. And that is, it makes it look like there is a deep anger in some people who know we have in the whole world. Nigeria is blessed.
Absolutely.
And to the world order and the communities in the world, the moment Nigeria gets it right, Africa will get it right. That's why that leadership thrust on us as a nation must be taken as a responsibility. The moment Nigeria gets it right, the world will come on their knees to be with us because we have the resources we need, especially human. But we have the human resources, we allow them poach our best out of here because we have destroyed our own economy, we have destroyed everything about us. They take our best out to work and be best for them. That's unfortunate. So a new Nigeria is possible, and we'll get there.
I'd like to thank you most sincerely, Mr. LANRE FADAHUNSI, for taking time out to help me and every one of us watching at this moment in time to really analyze and critique some of these things. We don't just criticize just for criticizing's sake, because we love to see that the best comes out from this great nation. And just as Mr. FADAHUNSI has rightly stated, there is that hope. He believes, just like I believe as well, that a better, greater Nigeria is here. I want to thank you most sincerely. Thank you so much for coming this morning. And I want to thank the entire transmission team, my director, my producer, the entire camera team, everybody who put a part into this to make sure that we enjoy today's edition of Morning Spring. We'll be back tomorrow, God willing, and for the